Let's talk about the latest horror, really, in Gaza and the deaths of those dozens of people on Sunday after that Israeli airstrike in Rafah triggered a blaze in a tented camp for displaced Palestinians. More than 40 were killed. Now, we've heard from the Israeli military just in the last 2 or 3 hours. Their spokesman was saying they are investigating the possibility that actually weapons were stored in a nearby compound. Those weapons caught fire after the Israeli airstrike. So, in other words, it wasn't just the airstrike that caused those deaths.
So the part of the Israelis, this is dissembling, this is lying. And they've been lying all along. Remember the Baptist hospital that they bombed and then they claimed this is a Palestinian rocket? People were burnt alive, Ben, in that refugee camp, the tents. And there was airstrikes on an area that Israel knows very well that it is as a safe zone for people taking shelter in Rafah. In fact, it was the Israeli army that directed people to go to the Mawasi, the very area they bombarded in the weekend on Sunday, and they bombarded again today, killing and injuring dozens of civilians. The images are gut-wrenching, really. It's heartbreaking. Israel knows well what they are bombing, who are they targeting, and therefore the discussion can no longer about Israel. Israel has turned completely and fully genocidal. The conversation is about the international system. The conversation is about countries like the US and the UK. And what are we going to do when Israel has crossed all the red lines, including the red line established by Washington and London, that is Rafah. Now, Israel has crossed that red line and no consequences. And we still hear from the British government the call for a swift investigation by the IDF, the Israeli army. So you want the war criminals to investigate their own war crimes? Seriously? And you are not supporting the international judicial system like the ICC and the ICJ to do their mandate and bring those war criminals to account. And therefore, London and Washington and key countries are the key focus of the discussion today, because what is happening in Gaza is going to go much beyond Palestine and Israel.
Well, of course, you use the word war crimes, you use the word genocidal. Israel would vehemently deny both those. And in fact, they were saying that they were targeting in that attack on Sunday Hamas leaders, and that they killed 2 Hamas leaders, people responsible, part of the organisation that was responsible for the October the 7th attacks.
Seriously, Ben, Britain did bomb Belfast or Dublin during the situation with Northern Ireland. You go and bomb an entire civilian area, shelters, tents, because you claim there were a man running with a Kalashnikov. If a psycho takes a group of civilians to a hospital, you go and bombard that hospital. Israel is committing genocide. And this is not me saying. This is the highest court of the globe, the International Court of Justice, that said it is plausible that Israel is committing genocide, and now Israel is officially on trial for genocide in The Hague. And therefore, the conversation should have been over since then. Countries like the UK should have imposed an immediate arms embargo until the court comes up with a final ruling and verdict, and the consequences should have come from all corners of the world to stop these atrocities. International law is very clear. It is the responsibility of the occupying force to protect the civilian populations and to provide for them. Instead, Israel has killed and maimed more than 120,000 Palestinians, mostly children and women. Instead, Israel has been imposing a famine on 2.3 million people, and therefore now what we expect is the full enforcement and equal enforcement of international law. Otherwise, I think every human being on this earth will feel the consequences of these atrocities, because the mass murder of children, the mass destruction of homes and hospitals and schools, the normalization of these horrible scenes are going to haunt all of us for generations to come.
Husam Zomlot, head of the Palestinian mission to the United Kingdom, thank you very much for coming to the studio. Thanks.